We're going to move along to our final guest this hour.
We are.
A topic different than we have covered, I think, on this show ever.
We have never talked about bike theft, and yet I think many people who listen to the show have probably experienced it. I actually had a bike stolen when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter had her beautiful Electra one-speed bicycle literally stolen off of our back porch when she was like 20 or 21.
Mm-hmm.
So I have experienced bike theft. Ingo Lou has a website called tocatchabikethief.com, and he has a project that is fascinating about bike thievery. Let's welcome Ingo Lou to the Outspoken Cyclist. Thanks for joining me this evening.
Hello, Diane. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm kind of enamored with your site and what you're doing.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Tell us about yourself and how to catch a bike thief.
Sure. Well, there are many ways to do that, but start at the beginning. Yeah, no, we started this project about a year and a half ago, and I guess the theft of one of my favorite bikes of all time was kind of sort of marked the start of this project. It was actually the fourth bike that had ever been stolen from me, and I'm not sure if that's just a string of bad luck or just I'm just bad at locking them up. Who knows? But it really sort of was a catalyst, and it kind of decided that enough was enough. And in asking around, just talking to other friends and fellow cyclists, you realize that almost everyone that I knew had a bike stolen at some point or another. And so there's this huge perception that not a lot is being done about bicycle theft, or that not a lot can be done about bike theft, and that it doesn't seem to be a big enforcement priority for police. So some friends and I decided to make a bait bike to study the problem and just to figure out who's stealing bikes and why they're stealing bikes, where stolen bikes go, and how stolen bikes are bought and sold, because it's really something that doesn't seem to be a lot of information about. There's a lot of anecdotal information, people saying, "Oh yeah, I know who's stealing bikes. It's people of of this socioeconomic background, or it's people who live in that neighborhood." But not all people don't really know a lot. So we wanted to really kind of study the problem and figure it out. So a close friend and filmmaker, Kirsten Aubrey, decided to get on board really early on, and together we decided to make a web series in which we would film all of our confrontations and findings and post them online. And since then, we've kind of expanded our mandate a little bit to create video content in which we explore all angles of bike theft. Who are bike thieves, and how do they steal bikes? Why do they steal bikes? And ultimately, what can cyclists do to fight the problem?
You alluded to a bait bike. How does the bait bike work? Let's start with that.
Sure. I guess sort of in the last decade or half decade, the ability to track assets and individuals has really kind of come into fruition, and it's somewhat affordable, really. And we kind of did a little bit of research, trying to figure out off-the-shelf items that we could use to track bikes. And it turns out that there are a bunch of websites that specialize in selling equipment, shall we say, to catch cheating spouses. That turned out to be actually quite useful. So we constructed this bait bike that we were able to then track live online using a web application, so we can get real-time reports of exactly where this bike is. And through it, what we have in our project, we have this intercept team, which comprises of a group of guys and girls who are on bikes. And once the bait bike is stolen, the bike starts reporting its real-time location to someone we've designated as dispatcher, and that person is on a two-way radio communicating with the rest of us in the field, telling us where to go on what streets to turn, so that we can head the bike thief off at the pass.
That's really cool. How many times have you put the bait bike out there and it's been stolen? Well, obviously, every time you put it out, it gets stolen if you're tracking it. But how long does it take to steal the bait bike usually?
Interestingly enough, when you want to get a bike stolen, it seems like it takes forever, which doesn't really seem in line with our expectations, right?
Right.
So we've certainly put it out a couple of times, and we've had a couple of interactions with people who've stolen them, and it's quite remarkable. As you can imagine, when a camera crew descends upon this person who's taken the bicycle, they're not really in much of a mood to talk. Although that is really our goal. Really, we're not looking at prosecuting or convicting or getting these people into trouble. Really, it's more of an academic study of bicycle theft. Right? I mean, who are these people? We just want to talk, right? And ultimately get our bike back so that we can demonstrate that that there are options. And ways that cyclists can fight the problem and get their bikes back if they are stolen.
So what do you do besides to catch a bike thief?
In real life?
Yeah. No, that is real life, but the other real life.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, back in April, I quit my job. I was working as a project manager at a tech company.
Ah, okay.
And back in April, sort of when we started our crowdfunding campaign, it became pretty clear that I needed to focus all of my attention on this project. And it's been really remarkable. It's been really awesome. The people that have come out of the woodwork to help us and just announce to us to say, hey, this is my background, this is my skill set, how can I help?
You make a statement that 2.5 bikes are stolen every minute. Is that in Canada?
No, that's actually, interestingly enough, it's in the United States.
Oh, I can believe that. But how did you where was that statistic?
That statistic, there was a report that was produced by for the U.S. Department of Justice. A group that calls themselves the Center for Community-Oriented Policing. That report's available online. I can actually send the link so you can post that on your show's website. But yeah, that's it's quite an alarming statistic, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Considering that really the recovery rate for stolen bikes is very, very low.
What usually happens to a stolen bike? Does it get taken apart like a car does and sold in pieces? Or what do you think happens to most of these bikes? The police don't recover very many, as far as I know.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of what one of the aims of the project certainly is, to really kind of elucidate exactly what happens. But when you look at the parts on a bicycle, the parts are actually worth more individually than the bicycle is as a whole.
That's true. As
odd as that seems. And so I mean, certainly it's quite likely that many of these bikes are being stripped for their parts. In other cases, bikes are just being sold immediately for a quick buck. And you see that quite often on Craigslist when you see a deal that seems too good to be true, right?
Yeah, it probably is.
And there's often people that'll just approach you on the street and ask if you want to buy a bike for like $100, and you look at it and it's at least worth $1,500, So there's all kinds. There's about 3 different types of bike thieves out there. There are the opportunists, basically people who woke up in the morning, they weren't really thinking about stealing a bike, but then they saw one that was easy to take, or components on the bike that were easy to steal, and they take them. There are bicycle thieves let's call them career bike thieves. They have all the tools. They know all the best places to go. They know the best ways to take certain bikes, the best times of day when to take a bike. And then of course there are the bike thieves who have perhaps more of an organized crime element about them. And these are bike thieves that have an employer. Somebody who's saying, hey, I have a buyer for a red Cervelo. Can you go make one disappear? And they'll find one. They'll find out where you live, and they'll just break into your house and take it. Right?
Wow.
So I mean, there's many different types of bike theft, and to answer your question, like what happens to stolen bikes, and are they dismantled? Do people take them for parts? It really kind of depends on the type of bike thief that we're talking about here.
Let me take a moment to remind our listeners we're speaking with Ingo Lou he's in Montreal. What are you doing in Montreal? You don't live there.
I don't live there. Actually, as it turns out, I'm in Montreal right now because we're working with a television production company that is they're taking our show and adapting it for broadcast television. So it's
a reality show.
Yeah, it's a reality docudrama style show.
That's great.
Yeah, that's so. There's they seem quite confident that there's a pretty big market for this kind of show, and I'm really excited to see where that goes, and who knows, we'll might have a show that you can tune into on cable sometime in the near future.
So, what are you going to do with all the statistics that you're gathering? I assume you are keeping meticulous information and are going to do something with the statistical, numbers and those things.
Yeah, we want to be a repository of knowledge for the problem of bicycle theft, right? As I mentioned before, there's quite a bit of anecdotal information that's out there, but ultimately what we would really like to be able to do is provide concrete, conclusive, evidence-based research about bike theft, and we want to be able to help communities and cyclists protect themselves against bike theft, by having that information. So, we really find that the reason that bike theft is a really big problem, Diane, is that it's threefold. Number one, it's really, really easy to steal a bike.
You could ride it away.
Yeah, it's a getaway vehicle as well.
Right, it's its own getaway vehicle, right.
So, you just go to Home Depot and you can get the tools and, need it
sure.
for the trade, and suddenly you're a bike thief. So it's really easy to steal a bike. Number two, nobody really cares about bike theft. There have been a number of videos posted online, most notably by Casey Neistat in New York, where he showed that he could sit there on the side of the road stealing his own bike all day long, like hacksawing it off, and not even police will try to stop you.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So nobody cares about bike theft is the second reason. And the third reason is that the balance of risk and reward is stacked deeply in favor of bike thieves at this point, right? It's there's not a lot of consequence for somebody, even if they are caught for stealing a bike. So, ultimately what we want to do, the goal of this project is to try to tip the scale, the risk and reward in favor of cyclists. Because at the end of the day, nobody really deserves to have their bike stolen.
I agree. Did you ever get any of the 4 bikes that were stolen from you back?
Never.
That's sad. So how are you funding your project? You mentioned crowdfunding. How are you doing that? Is that what you're doing, like a Kickstarter type campaign?
Indeed, yeah. We actually ran a crowdfunding campaign earlier this year, and we didn't actually meet our funding target. We got about halfway. So it was great because it allowed us to get a good start. But we certainly are still looking for funding partners and people who are interested in sponsoring this project. So,
what were you offering back? I know most of these crowdfunding or Kickstarter campaigns offer something back. How was your campaign working? I think people are interested in this crowdsourcing stuff because it seems to be successful for a lot of projects, some of which don't interest me at all, but obviously interest somebody else.
Yeah. Crowdfunding campaigns are certainly very successful, especially when there is a finished product that somebody could pre-order, right?
Right.
In our case, where our finished product is a show that you can then watch and enjoy. Some of the rewards that we were offering in exchange were outtakes, DVDs. We throughout the course of making these videos, we had quite a lot of blunders and screwed up a lot of times. And we also have a lot of fun on set because at the end of the day we're just a bunch of young people screwing around, messing with bike thieves. So it is a really fun project. So there were a lot of good outtakes. I think we also had, as the funding tiers went up, we had some more exotic prizes like winning a date with somebody on the Intercept team. And I think the highest funding tier was, you know what, just add airfare and we'll come fly to your city wherever you are, and we'll make an episode about you and your bike theft story.
Which is, by the way, where I'm going to sort of wrap this up, besides the fact we're going to talk about how to watch these videos. Are you trying to expand the To Catch a Bike Thief concept into other venues? I mean, are you actually going to start offering people the opportunity to, you know, learn how to catch a bike thief?
The answer is probably yes and no, Diane.
Okay.
We've certainly been approached by a couple of different very enthusiastic people in various cities to say, hey, you know, I got guys on the ground. I'm ready to go. Let's do this in Los Angeles, in Seattle, right? Let's do this in Portland. So I think that it's a little premature at this stage for us just to say, yeah, we're going to branch out. We're going to go and do all these other markets. But having said that, right, the goal of the project is to provide some of these solutions that cyclists and communities can use to protect themselves. So we do have, we will be offering a variety of different types of technologies that we're testing online, and they'll be for sale on our website, tocatchabikethief.com. Where you'll be able to buy things like GPS tracking systems or ultra high security locks and things like that.
It's a cool site, by the way. So it is tocatchabikethief.com. You have videos, you have an explanation of the project, who's on the team, a blog, and some information about contact and how to get involved. I just think it's one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. I really like it a lot. And so I really wanted to talk to you and learn more about it. I hope to see you on TV.
Thanks very much, and so do we, yeah.
All right. Well, Ingo, have a good time in Montreal, and when are you going back home? Do you know?
I'll be going back to Vancouver next week.
All right. Well, have a safe trip, and we'll talk to you again soon. As they say, we'll see you on the air.
Thanks very much.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Ingo Lou joined us from Montreal, Quebec, where he's there on business.
See? Oh, that's oui.
Normally he makes his home in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Still French-ish. Anyway,
fascinating.
Wasn't that interesting?
Yes. Yeah. Very, very.
Yeah, and I love his website. I think it's awesome. You got to watch some of these videos. This one guy was so mad. He was so upset, and he chased this guy down. I'm telling you, this video, it's like 8 minutes long. I was just mesmerized. He was furious.
Well, I think he really distilled it well. It is very low risk and high reward.
Yep.
Because often bicycle thieves, more often than not, bicycle thieves are not prosecuted. And they can make a quick buck off of it, so it's easy money. So
what I always have told customers when they say, what's the best way to lock up your bike? I say, take your front wheel off, set the bike down on its front fork, take your front wheel with you. They can't ride it away if it's not there.
That helps.
Now, if they really want your bike, they'll take the bench it's attached to if they can't get the bike. But, yeah, it does help. If most bikes, I think, are ridden away.
There are some very good locking techniques on sheldonbrown.com.
Are there?
Yes, involving application of small U-locks and chains or cables in combination. And what Sheldon said there is makes a lot of sense.
It just seems so, like, why do you have to do that?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Although cars get stolen all the time, too. People just want to steal things. Why is that? Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. All right.
Why is there theft in the world? That'll be our next topic.
No, it won't. No, in fact, our next topic is the book, The Secret Race.
Okay.
By Tyler Hamilton and Daniel Coyle. Daniel Coyle will actually join us in the studio. He lives a mile from John Carroll University.
Oh, great.
I know. He lives in University Heights.
Something to look forward to for next week.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us. Ride safely, and we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.